talking about meditation and the subtle body. We're going to continue our subtle body series. And when we meditate, we're going into silence. We're going into stillness. And it's always interesting because meditation over the past 30 years has, in this country, finally been discovered. It's like it's no longer a weird thing to do. I remember when I first started meditating, if I wanted to meditate in a park somewhere, I would have to bring a book and leave it on my lap. Because if you're just sitting on a park bench, people tend to walk by and look at you like really weird. Nowadays, I don't think anyone would even bat an eye. They'd be like, oh, whatever, they're meditating. Like we were even with a big group at the Grand Canyon, and it's the South Rim. It's very popular, lots of people, and there was a big group of us, and some of them really remembered that feeling of it being weird to meditate, and there was no place for us to go off of the trail and kind of hide like we had been doing on previous days. So I was like, this is a beautiful spot, like let's just sit here. So we did, overlooking the canyon, and it was so interesting to watch the different people's reactions, the other tourists that came up, because some of them were completely oblivious to this group of 20 people all sitting up straight with their eyes closed mostly, or gazing into the canyon. And they would just be like, wow, look at that, what's that down there? And there's a little building, turned out to be an outhouse. Big discussions about that. But this really sweet family came, and the child was like, what are they doing? And one of the parents was like, they're meditating, shh, be quiet. And I thought that was the sweetest, groundbreaking moment, because it became like, oh, even in a tourist place like this, there are people that get it, that meditation is a way of life. Now, with the popularity, there's this misconception over what meditation actually means. A lot of people look at it, in this country at least, as just relaxation. They're going to do some relaxation exercises and lay down and chill out, and that's their meditation. And I guess I'm a purist in a way because I'm like, I was trained by a master, and it's like, no, meditation means to stop thought. It means to actually experience stillness. Now, thoughts still arise, sensation still arises, but when we are in a state of meditation, we're existing in this liminal space prior to thought, prior to sensation. Once we pay attention to a thought, to a sensation, so once we're in that space where we recognize that, oh, I'm thinking, or I'm feeling, this sensation, I'm feeling that, we're no longer in the present moment, we're in the past. It's the space of a breath, less than a breath, but we're still in the past. It's those experiences of thought and sensation always occur just behind the present moment. And we become aware of what already was. So when we meditate, when we learn to train the mind to hold it still, hold our attention still, not the mind itself. The mind is just going to do whatever the mind does. But our attention, we can learn to hold that still, then this, you could say, doorway opens to prior to thought, prior to sensation. And if we can allow ourselves to let go into that, we cross through that doorway, and that's when magic happens. That's when awareness expands. That's when we become conscious of our subtle body, of the part of us that's not physical. Now, this is also where a lot of people get stuck, because now they're suddenly aware of this non-physical part of our being, and they pay attention to that. So that's what my teacher would call the astral planes of attention. It's the part of our awareness that is able to travel anywhere, anytime, in an instant, just by placing our focus. And we do this all the time. Anytime we have a big trip coming up, we were just talking about a retreat that some of us are going on in June. And every time I think about that retreat, part of my attention is already there, even though it's not happening until the end of June. Because, time is all happening all at once. And the subtle body has this ability to just jump there instantly. And as I look, all the variables aren't in place yet, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can see potentialities. And we all do that. Even when you go to work in the morning, when you're preparing to leave the house, there's a part of you, your subtle body, that is scoping out the pathway ahead. And it's feeding back information to you. That's why sometimes when you're about to take your regular route that you take every single day, and you might get just this little funny feeling like, oh, maybe I want to go a different way today. You should listen to that feeling. Because that means your subtle body picked up on something. And you might not ever know what that was if you listen. You might just be like, oh, maybe I'll just go around the block this way instead of going straight like I normally do. And you might never hear about what happened on that block at that particular moment in time. Occasionally we do get feedback. Sometimes, we'll hear on the radio there was some horrific accident, and because we were delayed or because we took a different route, we were able to completely miss it. So these things happen all the time. But because we don't get the feedback, and because of how our society is structured, we just ignore the subtle body. We ignore that feedback. So in meditation, when we concentrate our awareness and that we start to open to this non-physical side of being, it's like a whole new world opens. And it can be very exciting, and it carries over into your non-meditating time. Suddenly you're more aware of things happening on an energetic level. And we'll talk more about that next week when we talk about mindfulness. But when we're talking about meditation and the subtle body, the point I want to make is don't get stuck in the astral. That's just part of the scenery. And it's very similar to the thoughts and the sensations that arise. It's a different type of sensation. So as we're expanding awareness through the astral planes of attention, we can visit very, very beautiful worlds, and we can visit very horrible worlds. We do this at night when we dream as well, where sometimes the neighborhoods are really bright and shiny, and sometimes they're very rough, and we feel a little beat up. So when we meditate, we'll be passing through those, And of course, the temptation is you find a nice place to hang out, and you're like, oh, I'll just stay here. This feels good. And people will call that meditation. They'll start to visit different realms. And that's not meditation either. That's astral travel. It takes energy. So when you're done, if you visited beautiful places, you might be able to pull back some nice high bright energy with you. But if you wound up in some rougher neighborhoods, you might come back and not feel so good. Again, it's not a good or bad thing. It's not meditation. It's astral travel. It can be fun to play with, but if you're seeking to be free, then you need to let go of even that. So as that pulls at your attention, those different realms of beauty and horror start pulling at your attention, return to your focal point once again. Concentrate your awareness. And then release and allow yourself to go even higher. And eventually you hit what my teacher called the planes of light. What the ancient yogis called the lower samadhis, where everything just dissolves. There's nothing to hold on to. In the beginning, there'll be an object of attention that allows you to anchor yourself in those lower samadhis. And then eventually you let go of even that. And this is all occurring through your subtle body. So your physical body, we just try to make as comfortable as possible so we can sit up nice and straight. We make the mind as gentle and still as possible. So if the thoughts are raging through you, then you might have to work for a little while to rest on a single point. Again, meditation's never about force. It's not a struggle. It's simply resting your attention and letting everything else do whatever it's going to do without trying to control it. Where we finally reach a point of equanimity, where there is no attraction, no repulsion. There's just this. And we find this silence, this stillness. And this is the doorway into letting go. As we let go deeper and deeper, what's happening on a structural level is all of our habitual patterns, both physical, mental, and subtle, literally start to melt. And sometimes there is a reaction to that. There's something that we held to be true that has maybe safeguarded us and our description of the world. And suddenly that starts to melt. And at that moment, a lot of fear arises. We have sudden clinging. Like, no, don't take that from me. And when that happens, your best tool is a sense of humor. Is to allow yourself to look at the part of you that's clinging, the part of you that is freaking out, and not fully understanding why it's freaking out. That's just another trap. We go down that rabbit hole of like, oh, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel upset? Why am I, what is going on? And we honestly don't need the answer. Our ego will supply a whole bunch of answers, and eventually we'll find somebody to blame. Either somebody else, or we'll blame our former self. But that's not very useful. And it's not meditation. Meditation is very, very simple. It's just resting your attention on a single point. And we can use different tools as that point. Sometimes we'll use a chakra, which will open us to different layers of the subtle body. Sometimes we can use the breath, and we can just kind of ride the breath in and out and feel the swaying of energy and feel the stillness within that movement of rising and falling. Sometimes we're just waiting for the thoughts to end without paying attention to any particular thought. This is a good one if your mind is just spun up really tightly and it's just going. You just pull up a park bench, or like the train station analogy. You're just sitting at the train station and these different thoughts are pulling in, enticing you to jump on, but you say, no, I'm just going to rest here. And then you just let that thought go. And then another one comes, and another one comes, and another one comes. And the technique or the tool at that moment is to simply sit. Sometimes we can use our body as the focal point, where we just feel the heaviness of the body. We feel the balance of how we're sitting. And make these little micro adjustments so our shoulders are straight, our chin is straight, our hips are relaxed. And we just feel gravity pulling us into the earth, holding us. And we allow ourselves to rest into that. And from there, it's very easy to start to feel the energetic part of life holding us, supporting us. There's nothing to fight, nothing to struggle against. There's just this spaciousness or emptiness. And there's nothing to strive for because it's already here. It's always here. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about the perpendicular path. And what that means is this connection to enlightenment is right here. It's just here. Everything can be blowing up and spinning around, all happening all at once, but boom, just it's here. So we practice, twice a day is better, but we practice every day entering into the silence and stillness willingly and consciously. And that way it becomes a larger and larger part of our awareness. So we are not our physical body, like we talked about anatta last week. We're not our physical body. We're not our mental body. We're not our emotional body. And we're not our subtle body. There's something more. Something that does not fit into any particular box. But we can know it, we can experience it simply by sitting. So we should sit some more. So if you're watching this, I hope you take time to sit right now.